welcome to another episode of Jim's Allotment Garden. In today's episode it's a little bit different than usual. It's not exactly allotment, but what I want to show you is I'm going to put some electricity into the shed and put some lights up, and I just want to quickly show you how I'm doing that, so basically you can use the same idea for your sheds. And obviously it's always important when you're dealing with electricity that you need to you know, sort of think of safety, and also with it being outside in a shed you need to make sure that all the cables are protected correctly and you've used the right materials to do the job. So I'm just going to explain to you now how to do that. So welcome to the episode of Jim's Allotment Garden. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today, because it's raining outside, is basically putting the electric properly into the shed now. I've got some temporary lights up so I can see what I'm doing, but basically what we've got is not sort of permanent lighting in it. It's a job that I've been trying to get around to doing for some time now. But what I'm going to be doing is, the power comes from down the garden. I don't know if you can see out there the cable. That runs all the way down from the bottom. Now that's all protected by conduit, but it's a heavy duty cable. This is where it comes in. So it comes at the bottom of the shed there, comes up, and that's all conduit all the way down to basically the house. Now this is on a 13 amp fuse. So down at the house there's a 30 amp fuse which goes into the shed, and then in the shed there's a in the other shed there's a 13 amp fuse, so this is obviously fused to 13 amps. This cable is 30 amp cable, so I've overrated the cable, and when you're doing any electrics it's always worthwhile remembering that always overrate everything that you put in. So if you're going to put a lighting in, you need at least 5 amps. If you put any plugs or anything like that, you need at least 13 amps. But what I always do is overrate and put in 30 amps, so I know if anything's going to go, it's the fuse and not the cable and stuff like that. So always overrate what you're putting in cable wise, so you know what you're doing. And not only the cable, but also the bits of tricks that I've got here. So basically this conduit here, I've bought all of this from Wicks this morning. This conduit is 79p a length, which is a really good price, and all of these bits and bobs here have all come to around £40, which will enable me to put all the lights in. So basically what I'm going to be doing is putting in 2 lights here, so there'll be one around here and one there, and then I'm going to be taking the conduit all the way along to the other side of the shed, and I'll be putting another 2 lights in over here, so one there and one there. Obviously with it being a shed, you need to think about water and obviously safety with that. So obviously all of the cables are going to be encased in the conduit, so if it ever does get wet in here, there'll be you know, more than sufficient protection against the water getting into the electrics and stuff like that. And as I've said, it's all fused down the bottom anyway, so if anything untoward should happen, if any of the cables or anything like that get warm, it's all encased inside conduit. So if you're ever doing electrics in a shed, always think that you know, the worst case, if anything goes wrong, that everything's protected. And what I would suggest, if you do put cabling in the shed, don't just run the cables round, put conduit in and run the cables actually in the conduit. Then everybody knows where the cables are and they're all protected and everything, and use the proper joints, etc. They're not expensive at all. All of these bits and bobs here are less than £1 or so. So these are the joints which basically the light fittings will go off. So I've got some of the sort of 2-way ones. There's 4 of those, and the lights will basically go off of these. I've got a couple of 3-ways because I need to split the conduit up the top corner there. So the first lot will come this way, and then I'll split it, and then it'll go that over there, and then obviously come this way. And then I've got this box here with a sealing thing on there. So basically, the light switches can go in there, and you know, they can all be basically well, at least splash proof, if not waterproof. And any connections, I haven't got the light fittings here, they're actually in the garage at the moment. I bought those before, but again, they're not expensive. If you are going to do this and you've got a reasonable size shed, it's worth putting in multiple lights, but always make sure you buy a good quality make. MG is one that I most certainly recommend. It's a British make and it is really good quality, and always look on the back to make sure that you're rating. So as you can see here, it's rated at 30 amps. So I know that I can put the cables in here. This is going to be the main junction box. I know I can put the cables in there, and it's all rated at 30 amps. So I know I'm never going to use anywhere near 30 amps because there's a fuse at 13 amp, 13 amps, which will blow before any of this. So and it's all good stuff. So basically, what this is going to go over here. So that's going to be fitted in there. It's going to replace this sort of chocolate block here. So that's going to be fitted in there like that. The cable's going to come in at the bottom, conduit up to this box, and then the conduit's going to go along, then all the way along here to the switches and one set of plugs, which is going to be sort of located somewhere here. And then from there the cable's going to go back, or the circuit's going to go back. Look at the size of that spider there, it's huge. The cable's going to go back along here, and then up, and then along here with the light fittings here, and then of course along to the other end of the other light fitting, and then it's going to split there, and it's going to go up and over, and then along this bit here, and there's going to be another set of lights. So we're going to end up with 4 lights in here. I'm also going to end up with a couple of 13 amp sockets here, so I can get electric out for anything in the garden or anything in here. And there's also going to be another set of plugs over in this direction for the stereo, etc. So that'll all run off, and I'll explain the circuits as I put them in. So what I'm going to start doing before I start putting any wires in, obviously I need to run the conduit round, and basically I'll just be putting the conduit round the shed. And obviously what I've done is I've worked out where the conduit needs to go. I'm not 100% sure if I've got enough. I basically bought everything that Wix had got this morning. I may need to get another few lengths, but all being well I shall have enough there. To be honest, until you start putting it up and connecting it all together, you don't really know. But you know, roughly I think I've got enough, so at least I'll be able to get the lights in and the first 2 plugs, so that'll be a good start, and put all the joints in, etc. And I'll show you that when I've made a reasonable start at it. Okay, so I want to show you a bit of a trick. Now this is obviously plastic pipe, the conduit, but what I want to do is put a bend in the pipe. Now what you can do is you can buy joints. You know, there's various. Well, for example, that one there, that's a right angle joint or an elbow joint. You know, you can buy them, which makes it easier. But if you want to put a reasonably tight bend in, what you can do is you can actually warm the pipe up. And you need to do it gently, but what I suggest you do is when you bend it, what will happen is the pipe will try to concertina, which basically means it'll try and fold in. You know, as you're bending it kind of that way, the bit on the inside of the bend will try to concertina. So it's not ideal, but what you can do is you can get yourself, you know, you can get the pipe to go around a bend if you like. So I want to put a bend in the end of this. Now with copper pipe you get these sort of things, which is basically like a helix or a coil of metal. And what this actually does is it prevents the pipe from basically concertinaing or basically folding in on itself. Now this ain't the right size, unfortunately. Obviously copper pipe comes in 50mm and 22mm. 22 is too big to go in, so 15 is the only one that will actually go in there. And what I want to do is put a bend on the end there. So what you need to do is warm it gently. Emphasis on the word gently. Now obviously I'm using a blowtorch here. What you can do is you can use a hot gun, like an electric hot gun, but I'm just going to use a blowtorch. And all I'm going to do is gently warm the pipe, the end. You can see that. I want to bend the end. Now you don't want to get it too hot. If you get it too hot, you'll start to burn the plastic. And obviously that's you don't want to burn the plastic. And you can tell when you're getting it hot enough because the the plastic will go from like an opaque to more of a shiny colour, shiny finish. I don't know if you can see that, but the pipe's starting to kind of bend. As soon as you've done that, you know you've got it warm enough. So I'm just quickly going to turn that off. And so as you can see, that's starting to sort of droop, if you like. So put in your thing there just to stop it from concertining. What I'm going to do is bend the pipe over, and you can see the bottom there how it's kind of folding. That's what I mean by concertining. So if you pull the pipe slightly, that actually sort of helps that not to happen. But what I want to try and do is get a right angle in there. Now, even if you do get that concertining, which is actually going to happen, it doesn't really matter too much. But as you can see, I've got a right angle in there now. As long as you can get the wires through when you haven't broken the pipe, obviously, the pipe's going to do what it needs to do. And all you need to do now is just hold that whilst it cools down again. And when the plastic cools down, it's already cold enough for me to touch pretty much. So that's about 60 degrees now. So as soon as it cools down, it'll basically stay in that position. So just holding that now, that's pretty well cool now. I can feel that it's still bendy. So that's pretty much it. So now I can take that out. As you can see, I've now got a bend on the end of the pipe. It's not perfect, it doesn't look overly neat because you've got that kind of crease in it, which isn't fantastic, but at least you can get a bend in the end of the pipe. So if you need to go around any kind of shape. Now I'm going to have to put a bend in another piece of pipe to go over the apex of the roof, and that's a much more gentle. Obviously what I've shown you there is quite an extreme bend, but what I'll be doing is putting one in to go over the apex, and that's going to be a much more gentle bend. Now they're much easier to do, but what I suggest you do is put coil into the pipe. Always have a bit of string on the end so you can pull it back out afterwards if it's all the way in the pipe. And then what you can do is bend the pipe, and obviously a more gentle bend will be much easier to do. And what I would suggest is heating up, like if I was going to put a bend in there, what I would do is probably heat up about 6 inches, 15 centimetres of the pipe. Heat plenty of it up, get it all nice and warm, and then as you bend it, pull it slightly as well, which will stop it from, because what you want to do, the outside you want to stretch, the inside you want it to go together. And as you do that, pull it apart with your hands, offer it up against where you want it to be, and then you'll be able to see that you've got the right angle, and then just hold it in place whilst it cools, and then the pipe will be fixed like that again. So I'll just put this up and I'll show you what it looks like later. Okay, so just to show you another piece that I've just bent, as you can see I've got a much slighter angle in there, and as you can see the pipe hasn't concertinaed at all, so that's worked really well. Again, putting the helix down for bending first, and obviously what you need to do is offer it up and then see how much string you've got left, and then obviously push it down so that goes to the end, and then you know that's in the right place. So I've done that bend in there, and then I've done this reasonably complicated bend at the end. That has concertinaed a little bit, but in all honesty I'm reasonably pleased with that, because I had to twist the pipe as it was going in, but you'll see where this will go in a moment when I show you. But as you can see, without using too many joints, you can bend the straight pieces into the shape that you need, and I'll show you this in place in a moment so you can see what it is. But as you can see, you can bend the pipe round, and then obviously you can put it up and get it all around the different bends and twists in the roof, so it's all one piece of pipe. Okay, so you can see I've got 30 amp cable there coming in, so that's obviously going to go up, and then that cable then goes along here down to I've just got the reeler cable here, so that's been fed through. Obviously this bit of conduit here is the bit that's the most going through. It's because that's going to go to the switch and then back to everything else. So this wire here is the return wire for the lights. So obviously I've got a 30 amp cable coming in, which is this one, and that one's a 15 amp cable. That's the light going, the cable going back to the lights, and that's now all the way up to that point there in the roof. Now what I'm going to do is inside there I'm going to put a junction, because obviously one half needs to go down, and that's the piece that you saw me bending earlier on. So that's one piece going from there up, down, and then round, and then it joins about here, and then it comes along to that there, and then goes along to there. There's a joint there, and then that goes all the way along to the end over there. You can't quite see because it's in the dark, but so that's that set of lights, and then it's going to come along from there also along here to here, and then there's going to be another not quite sure I'm going to get around this bit here, but that's going to go from there all the way across to the to have another light over here. So that's basically the feed to the main set of lights there, and then this brown wire here is going to be the second switch, which is then going to feed through this wire here and come out of this box in the middle here, where I'm going to have a separate socket on the ceiling there for these disco lights to be plugged straight into there. So what you'll be able to do is switch those on at the switch here. Basically I'm going to have 3 switches there. So as you can see, I've got this gang of 3 switches, and then one switch is going to do the main lights, which is these here. The second switch is going to put power to that through that brown cable there, which is also 30 amps, to the plug which is going to be up there, and then obviously the power comes through this main 30 amp cable there to power the switch, and also the sockets which are going to be next to it. And then the third switch will go to the front to the 2 lights which are outside on the near either side of the front door. So what I need to do now basically is I need to put a junction box in there, so this cable then will go along here and then up there, and then I can put a cap on there. I've not fed this through the conduit yet, because what you need to do is feed all the cables through in one go. You can't put one cable then try and get another cable up there, because it basically doesn't work very well. So what I'm going to do is basically wait till I've got all the other cables there, then I can feed them all through together to there, and then obviously from there it'll go along. As soon as I've got that sorted out, I can then put the switches in here, so I can start to do that. And then obviously as soon as I've got all that finished and I've put the circuit tester on it, I can then wire that up to here, and obviously this will then connect into there, bringing the power onto it all. And obviously I've just filed that out slightly at the top and the bottom with the grinder, just so I can get all the cables through easily. So what I'll do is I'll get all this wired up, and I'll show you in the next video what it looks like. Okay, so the wiring is pretty much finished. So what I wanted to explain to you is basically what I've done. So as I explained earlier, basically the electricity came up from the bottom there, and I've put this junction in there called by a company called MK. That's a really good quality mate to get, and to be honest with you, from a price point of view, they're about the same as everybody else, maybe slightly more expensive, but it's worth it for the peace of mind. So basically the live, neutral and earth come up to this point here, and then from there the live, neutral and earth are then taken with 30 amp cable up to here, and then all the way along along this pipe here, and then down this pipe into this plug. So this plug basically is connected directly to the main power coming in. So basically there's a wire all the way through to here, and then from this plug I then go with the live to the switch, which is obviously 3-gang switch. So basically I'll take the live from this to the switch, and then the switch then feeds the live to the various the lights. Now this switch here basically just switches the live onto a wire, which then goes over to the wire above there, which basically is 2 lights on the front of the summer house. This middle switch here, the one which is on, basically switches the live onto a circuit which goes all the way along there to all of these lights that you can see here. So there's four bulbs going round, and then this last switch here switches the live onto a wire which goes up there, along, all the way along, up and over there, and then along here to that plug over there, which then allows me to switch other things through that plug over there. So the live is switched by the switch, which is always the brown wire or sometimes the red wire, and the neutral and the earth is just basically connected to everything. So from here the neutral wire goes from here up, round, without it being switched, it's just connected directly. It comes from there all the way along to here, and then back again from there, back along to that light over there, and then along here up to that junction box at the top there, and then from there it's then split that way and obviously this way to this light here, and then from there round to that light, and then it's joined onto that plug, and then it's joined onto that light, and then it goes round the conduit like that back to this light here. So basically what I've got is the neutral, which is the blue wire, is connected to everything all of the time. The ground wire, which is the green and yellow wire, that's connected to everything all of the time. Only the live is switched, and that's, which is the brown wire, and that's switched from this plug to the various items round. So basically what I wanted to show you was, I'll put a quick diagram in the video now so you can actually see what the circuit looks like. Okay, and the other point that I wanted to make was, when you're putting in the pipe work, what I would suggest you do, the part that I haven't really shown is me feeding the wires through the pipes, and what you need to do is basically put the conduit up, the conduit pipe up, and make sure you've got all of the various pieces right and it all fits in. And then what you need to do is effectively take it apart again to feed the wires through. And the one tip that I can give you is, if you're feeding 3 wires up this for example, don't feed one wire and then try to feed another wire, then another wire. You need to feed all 3 wires up the pipe in one go, otherwise you won't fit them in. So so that's basically the wiring. Now obviously note that all the way around I've got the pipe, there's no breaks in the pipe anywhere around. It's all, obviously there's the bend there around the corner, obviously bent at the top there. I've got adequate clips all the way around, although I haven't overdone the clips. Basically those junction boxes that I showed you, the standard light fittings go straight into them. So that's worked out quite well. And then basically the pipe work just goes along here, up and over the apex, and then back over to this one here. And obviously if we do get any leaks in the roof, obviously this is a shed, so that potentially we could have leaks. Even if it does leak, all of the wiring is in the pipe work, and it is all basically waterproof. So you know, if it did get wet in here, then it would be reasonably safe to assume that we wouldn't get water inside the electric. So that's basically what the wiring looks now round the shed. Now I know not all of us have got the luxury of having mains electricity up the allotment or up the garden. So what you can do is, if you look on the internet, what you can do is get a solar powered light. Now they work out around sort of £30, but they are really sort of well worth the money, because all you need to do is, there's a small solar panel which is about sort of 12 inches square or 30 centimetres square, and you fit that onto the roof facing south, or as best you can to catch the sun. And then there's everything that you need is within the kit, and basically you have a cable coming from that with a switch on it, and then you also, from the switch, you also have a light. Now you can mount the light either inside the shed or actually outside the shed, so you can see sort of going up to it. And you can also get versions of it where you've got like a reactor centre on there, so as you walk towards the shed, this light will actually come on. Now obviously what you can do is you can have multiples of these. You can have one for inside and one for outside, and with a reasonable day of sunlight in the UK at least, that will power the light for around 2 hours, according to the literature. But all you need to do is have a look online, just put in garden shed light, I think I'll search for, and you can see them in there. And they're really easy to fit. Basically all you need to do is just feed the wire through onto the solar panel, and then the switch and the actual light, which is an LED type light, just goes inside. Obviously it's low voltage, it's only about I think it's 6 volts, and that basically all you basically need to do is attach the lights to either the inside or the outside of the shed, attach the solar panel onto the roof, and the switch, and then all you need to do then is just run the wires around, which are all in there, and basically just plug them in. All you need to do is drill a small hole through the shed to to get the wire out of the solar panel, and that's sort of really easily done. It'll take you about half an hour to an hour to fit, and it does make a massive difference, I think, to have a light inside the shed. So if you want to, particularly this time of year when we get towards the winter, when it's quite dark at night, you can come back from work and it's already dark or already going dark. And what you can do is you can go in the shed and get, you can get cracking with doing various things. And you can do things otherwise. You'd be either candlelight or you'd need like a portable torch or something like that. Have a look. If you have got a shed up your allotment and you do spend some time in there during this time of year, it is well worth having a light, just to so you can see what you're doing. And if you ever go up the allotment, you can actually do something at this time of the year. So have a look, and as I say, they are easy to fit. But have a look online. All you need to look for is solar powered garden light, and they'll come up. So, I hope this episode of Jim's Allotment Garden has been of some use to you. Please don't hesitate to put any questions or comments that you've got below, and I'll always get back to you. And I'll see you on the next episode of Jim's Allotment Garden.